So I started with Inez with Accounts 101. She gave me 4 clients. So I have Body Max, I have Jarvis Civil Engineering, and so West U. No, West something. And this one, Westview Boy Scout Troop, and then the Westview Cub Scout Pack. So let me just open one of them.
Okay.
Westview Cub Scout. So she uses Microsoft 365 for her clients. Okay, so each client, of course, has their own folder. Set up by year, and then we just finished February, so I go into the February one and work papers. So I think pack, yeah, pack 260. Okay. So she has this Excel for the bank reconciliation. It's a work paper. Her instructions were to go into here, update the date, and then I'm entering this balance per balance sheet. So I enter, let's move these closer, I guess. So that was the balance per the balance sheet.
Yep.
And I'm supposed to tie to this number.
Did you verify that agrees with the bank statement?
No, not how she did it. I couldn't figure out what I was trying to do here. So I just did my regular process and then went into QuickBooks, reconciled, and then I figured out the difference.
Can you pull up within that folder? It did say bank statement.
Yes.
Let's just verify. Let's just pull that up and verify the bank statement balance.
Sorry, part of the, as I learn where everything is, I just kind of bounce around.
That's okay.
No.
788.89. Okay, 2 outstanding deposits. Okay, leave that up while you go back to the go back to her reconciliation.
The work paper.
The work papers. Okay, so did you come up with the 6876? Or is that the difference between the bank statement and the balance sheet?
That was the difference between the balance sheet and the bank statement. Yes.
Okay. Did you put in that caption? What caused the difference? Go back up to the 68, that little 68.
Yes.
You determined that?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so what is your question? How do you figure it out without going through QuickBooks?
Yes, because she said to do this first, the work paper first, and then do QuickBooks once I reconcile it.
Well, I mean, you still have to go into QuickBooks, right? So you go into QuickBooks, you go into the bank account, go into that line item. Go ahead and open that up. I mean, and you've done regular bank reconciliations before, right?
Yes. You go
there
through
should
into, at least in the module, you would go here, reconcile, and then if your credits or debits are off, it helps narrow the point of where I need to look and see what's off. But usually QuickBooks, of course, is trying to match it yourself.
Right. So it looks like there's some outstanding checks that have not been reconciled yet. So we would need to find the outstanding checklist from the prior month. Does she have that available for January? Well, it looks like that one is outstanding. Yeah, I would go back to the outstanding checklist from January.
Which would be the other work paper, correct?
Correct, the January work paper. Right, so there's one check that's outstanding. And then you would go to the bank the February bank statement and see if you see that clearing. Obviously, it didn't clear, so that's why that's still the only outstanding reconciling item.
Okay, so am I just doing it twice, the reconciling, or is there a method to why I would do the work paper before doing the bank?
No,
No.
it probably just makes her happy for you to do that, but no. I mean, because QuickBooks is going to tell you the same thing, right?
Right. Okay, that's what I was, because that's what I did. I did QuickBooks first, and it told me, and I was able to put the check in. I was like, that's, but
She
she's
probably
more
just wants you to
advanced,
do,
and I
yeah.
want to make sure I'm doing it correctly, and I also want to learn if I'm doing something wrong in my process.
No, it sounds like she's just used to doing it manually. So she wants you to continue on with these work papers. But basically you're going to do it in QuickBooks, and then to make her happy, you're just going to put it in the format she's comfortable with.
Okay, awesome. I can do
So,
that.
I mean, you could do this first if you want to do it manually. I can't imagine why, but especially when QuickBooks spits out the answer a lot quicker.
Mhm. I spent an hour trying to figure out this. Well, first trying to find the folder because I keep losing track in Microsoft 365. And then I just went to QuickBooks first, and I was like, you know what? It just saves time.
Yeah.
That was one question on the cash reconciliation, and that worked itself out, as I mentioned. The other issue or the other question that came up back to practice was on one of the other clients.
Mhm.
What are you doing? Well, QuickBooks does that. So Jarvis Engineering. Okay, so same thing with her. She has the work papers for the cash reconciliation, but she also has these other prepaid fixed asset, and I forget the fourth one down there.
Mhm.
But she also has a balance sheet. And when I was doing something went wrong. Oh.
You just lost your access.
No, I was literally just in there. It might be because I tried to sign into QuickBooks time. It was two different emails. So yes, that's what it is. Okay. This. There. Okay. So for the one email, it just logs me into QuickBooks time, and the other, she sent me an invite, so I have to log into my own. I have to write all this out.
Okay.
So Jarvis Civil Engineering was the other one. And so she said her process is to go through the book review that QuickBooks has available. So for each client, I'm going, starting here at each point where I finish all the bank transactions, I'm changing this to done, done, done,
Mhm.
and all that. So
Okay.
at the account reconciliation, I usually reconcile the bank statements. That's fine. But this
Okay.
one, the fixed assets, I've never reconciled those before. And when I go to the work papers, fixed assets has this. And I don't think it changed, but I wasn't sure.
If you go back to the balance sheet and look at the fixed asset accounts and see if they had any additions in the month of February, that'll just let you know if she had any additions or disposals for the month.
And this is a recurring depreciation entry
Okay.
that she has set up. But
Okay.
so that's what I do. I just go in here and I
Yep.
see if there are any changes, any additions or subtractions. That would tell me if I need to change something on this work paper.
That's correct.
Okay.
Right. So since they didn't have any fixed asset additions or disposals, the only change in the account would be accumulated or depreciation expense for the month.
Okay. And she tracks that here. So she showed me how to add if there is an asset purchase and for the useful life and all that. So back to here. So for my backup for balance sheet reconciliations, that work paper is my backup.
Yes.
Okay. So there's nothing else that external I'm supposed to check.
No, the only other thing is, I mean, if there were some additions, then you would probably want to get a copy of whatever bill that she has to support that, but that would come from the client. But as far as the accounting side of things, no, you just need to go through the account and account for it on that worksheet.
Okay. And so that was the first one, and I had the work paper for that one. Then I got to payroll liabilities, and I went back to this one, and there's a debt roll, but
oh, she had a PPP loan. Okay.
But there's nothing as far as any kind of payroll liability. And what I ended up doing, because as you can see, it does say reconciled through February now, I just went to the balance sheet and recorded the current balance as of February 28th, and then reconciled that balance. But how do I know if that's right or if I'm off?
So let's go back to the balance sheet. Let's see what the liability section looks like. So within the liabilities, under payroll liabilities, the only thing she has is just the taxes.
And I asked her about the negative balance on federal taxes.
Is that a prepaid?
She said in her case, it was normal because she overpaid her federal taxes. And she just started with them. Because I told her, well, I asked her, I was like, it's negative. And I don't know the detail involved with payroll, but obviously liability is not supposed to be negative. So
yeah, if it's a prepaid, it ends up being a negative, right? So overpaid is basically she prepaid her taxes, and that's why it's showing a negative in that account. Does that make sense?
Prepay payroll taxes?
Well, if you overpay your taxes, it's in essence you're prepaying, right?
Does the government or the state, I guess federal in this case, does the federal government know you overpaid, or how?
Yeah, I mean, when you make estimated tax payments, you can pay anything that you want to, right?
Yes.
I can pay all of my taxes on the very first day of the year. And then, as the year goes on, we're looking at our each paycheck, and then we determine halfway through the year that, there's no way I'm going to be anywhere near the $12,000. In essence, I basically prepaid the whole year's taxes. Okay. So it's reconciled at the end of the year when you do your actual tax return.
But they aren't going to give her a refund.
Well, when you do your tax return, they will.
I
right?
mean, like her as a business, she's not going to get a refund of this.
She could request it, but usually they apply it to the following year.
Okay. Okay,
And
so,
we're only in February, so most likely she'll end up applying that to the next quarter or something like that. By the end of the year, she probably will have caught up
and it
with
looks
how
like
much
she's using QuickBooks Payroll. So QuickBooks is going to recognize that she overpaid and they will not continue making the payment for whatever they calculate was that quarter's payment.
that would make sense, correct?
Okay,
Right, because payroll, QuickBooks is never going to see or is not going to see a liability probably until at the rate that she's going. Well, it looks like she's going to recognize a liability probably in March. So as of February, she's not going to make a payment. QuickBooks is not going to show she owes anything,
okay. So
right?
when this account shows that she owes, that's what triggers QuickBooks to make a payment.
Correct.
Okay, good to know. But as far as there not being a work paper, was what I did correct? Is there anything else I need to go off of?
I don't understand your question.
Uh,
What
what
did you do?
I went to this balance sheet and I put for the total on payroll liabilities, the 254.24.
But you did it in the PPP loan work paper.
No, I was just showing you that I didn't see any work papers related to payroll liabilities. Like there's no work paper.
Was there one in February? Was there one in January? Did she just not do one in February?
No, it was the same for.
That's kind of odd. Now, it seems like that one she should have a work paper for.
And there weren't any other work papers for the other balance sheet items that I needed to reconcile. Payroll liabilities. Oh, there was one for that one, but this one, employee cash advances, I did the same. I just went to the balance sheet
Mm-hmm.
and pulled that balance, and of course it tied out.
Okay.
But it just seemed like I went from having work papers to no work papers, and I don't know if that's regular or.
Well, I guess what is the balance in the employee cash advance?
I think it was 0.
Yeah, so therefore there's no work papers. Makes sense.
Yeah, it's 0.
Yeah, so that makes sense that there wouldn't be one, but it seems like there should be a work paper for the payroll liability. That one
Because
seems a
there's
little
balance.
odd to me, only because there is a running balance.
Mhm. And when I went into that account, I could tell Inez, the bookkeeper, had done work because there is a journal entry. Where she had corrected FICA, I think it was, or FUTA, moving it to the correct account.
Okay. Yeah, it seems like there should be a work paper for like either 941s, payroll liability. I mean, if it doesn't exist, it doesn't exist. There's nothing that you really need to do with it.
Mhm.
But I would ask, why is there no work paper for the payroll liability?
Okay. I won't send this till tomorrow.
Okay.
Have you used work papers, or are you just familiar with how they are used?
I've used work papers. Every company I've ever worked for uses work papers. So if there's a big month-end close folder where you've got a ton of reconciliations, we usually don't do reconciliations through the system. QuickBooks is really QuickBooks and NetSuite are really the only ones that I see that has reconciliations, and it's usually only bank recs. I don't usually see all of these other balance sheet accounts that's done in the system. Usually those are done off balance sheet or, you know, in a group of work papers.
So do work papers keep everything trued up so there's no question when the CPA goes in and each year, or what's the purpose?
The purpose of the work paper is to give you support for all of your numbers. For example, in prepaid expense, normally something goes into prepaids and you amortize it over the year. Usually it's like dues and subscriptions where you got a 12-month subscription. So you keep a work paper that says, I paid $1,000 for Google in January. And then you would make a journal entry every month, or you'd have a recurring journal entry that's amortizing that monthly. So then your work paper would show the beginning balance, and then you'd see January expense, February expense, March expense. So you know that there's a balance outstanding 6 months into the year of $500, and you know why. So that's the purpose of the work papers. So this one right here, this RLI insurance.
Yes.
So this basically, there should be a date that this thing was originally paid for. So it's originally $88.50. And they're probably amortizing it over 12 months. So it probably was 51.62. What is, I don't have my calculator. I left that. So divide that. Yeah, so they probably paid for the insurance like maybe September. And they're amortizing, what is 88.50 divided by 12? Yeah. So they're probably amortizing this 730, 750 monthly. So then if you go to the prepaid insurance account, you probably will see something around that dollar amount. Yep, there's your 737.50. That's the monthly amortization.
Okay.
So that's really the purpose of the work paper, to show the beginning balance and when it happened, and then to show that you are actually amortizing it monthly. And at any point in time, you know what the balance remaining is.
Is this something you would recommend, reconciling the balance sheet account?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Every balance sheet account should have a reconciliation.
So work papers is something that I should incorporate then. And that's partly why I like the idea of starting with Inez, is going to show me some proper techniques.
Yeah, I mean, the work papers that I'm seeing look really good. Yeah, these are really good for you to incorporate into your future bookkeeping.
Okay. Awesome.
Not bookkeeping, accounting. The bookkeeping is the transactions. The accounting is really doing the analysis piece of it. And this will really help a lot.
Awesome. Well, thank you. That helps.
Good. Good.
I
That
just
was
wanted to
easy
make
enough.
sure, because I was like, there's nothing. I felt kind of like I was cheating. There was nothing except for the prepaid and the like the payroll liability. I was like, I'm just putting the balance sheet, and I got to the owner's equity portion and I did the same. What is it? So for the owner's equity, should I also do work papers?
No, usually the only thing that's going through there is just the monthly income, right? So unless there's some personal stuff going through there, or I would look at the account and see if there's anything other than income going through that account.
There was this, apparently she has a Chase MasterCard that she's paying, and it's not attached to QuickBooks, so I put that to her personal draw.
Yeah, yeah. If it's not attached to QuickBooks, that would make sense.
Okay.
Yeah,
So,
she's using her, she's basically using it for personal stuff.
so prepaids, payroll, anything that I'm tracking a balance, amortizing, depreciation, fixed assets, those do work papers on to track when we made a large purchase, why we are amortizing or depreciating said
Correct,
expense. But
correct.
other items like owner's draw, owner's equity, those kind that don't usually carry a balance or just have regular transactions, no need for work papers.
Right, right, I'm kind of surprised to see this much activity going through here. But usually you don't find owners that have their personal credit card tied to their QuickBooks. But I recently got a client that was doing that. I was a little bit surprised.
That's good. And as I mentioned, one of the reasons I wanted to join with Inez, I wanted to grow. A lot of my clients right now are solopreneurs.
Uh-huh.
So I don't work a lot with their balance sheet. And I've gotten a few calls about some C Corps and S Corps, and I just want to make sure I understand correctly. So thank you.
Okay. All right. No worries. This is a good learning experience.
Yes, I look forward to it. Thank you, Sharon.
You're so welcome. If you have any more questions, feel free to reach out to me.
Will do. Thanks so much.
All right. You have a good night.
You too. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.